Welcome to Buy It on BirchStreet, the weekly show where we highlight the best of procure-to-pay on demand in innovation, automation, and solutions to help save you and your customers valuable money and time. BirchStreet Systems provides global enterprises with multiple locations a complete procure-to-pay business solution deploying cloud technology. I'm your host, Gareth Fraser. With me today on the show is BirchStreet Systems corporate chef, Lawrence Madsen. Welcome, Chef.
Hey, Gareth. Thanks for having me.
And for our wider audience, maybe we can get started by you sharing some of your background and what ultimately brought you to BirchStreet Systems.
Well, I've been a chef for, I guess that would be 23 years now. But I've been with the BirchStreet Systems for going on my 11th year. I've always had a passion for food. Where you get paid to play with knives and fire, you can't beat that. And I've been pretty much based in Southern California primarily. Started off in San Francisco, came down. I've done the whole slew of primarily standalone restaurants, restaurant groups. I was the executive chef for the Tony C. Landing Group. Do a lot of catering. Did retirement homes for a little while too. Actually, while taking care of my grandmother, was kind of like a two. It was a double benefit there. Got to learn something at the same time. But with BirchStreet in particular, I was working down in Dana Point. I just opened a restaurant on the water, and
beautiful area.
And I got Sushul had reached out for a 3-month contract to help with a new product that they were putting together for hospitality service in or industry in general, but primarily it was they needed to develop a recipe pad for sharing recipes and sharing nutrition, providing nutrition and allergen reporting. The USDA was the terminology used wasn't very layman, so they asked if I could review and kind of clean things up a bit and make things make a little bit more sense to the average culinary user. Which I was happy to do, and so signed on for 3 months, got done in a couple weeks, and then they said, hey, why don't you stick on for another couple months and help us out with some additional issues coming up, and then stay on for a couple more months after that. And 11 years later, I'm still here. So doing
a journey.
Yeah, I'd say did pretty good for myself on that front. But it's been exciting. It's definitely been great to work with some of the top names in the industry and to get the visibility and interaction with, as you know, it's all across the board. I mean, restaurants, hospitality, gaming, you name it. But
of course, you've cooked for the rich and famous too, whether it's rock stars or politicians or major events such as that. Particularly in your area, you're in Newport Beach, right? Are you in that rough area?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, right around there in Orange County, and we've done a lot of that. Catering is probably my favorite challenge because it is challenging. It's new office every time. You don't have everything at your disposal, so you have to be creative and kind of come up with some solutions on the spot at times. But it's really interesting. We did a lot of entertainment catering. I don't want to start the name dropping, but
right, the name dropping, but they're well known.
We've done a lot of that, a lot of entertainment catering, and we have a big blast with that.
Yep, for sure. For our listeners' benefit, even though I'm in sales and marketing enablement here at BirchStreet Systems, I torture Chef by sending him pictures of my daughter's cooking, my wife's cooking, my cooking. As you know, in my background, I went to University for Business and Hospitality, and we had our own farm that the university was on, and hotel, and began as a waiter when I was 13. So, just love that, and I've seen you in action, Chef, and it's incredible if any of our listeners have never had a demonstration of the recipe management module and listen to Chef Lawrence talk about it. You're just so passionate about it. You love it so much, and you've seen it. You're about to have a child. This is almost your digital child here, Chef. recipe management.
Yeah, that's right. My new child will already have a digital sibling right off the bat.
Now, your
And
wife also works for BirchStreet Systems, right? Haley works in our contract department.
Yep. She's joined the business. I think she's been on for, I want to say, 7 years or so, but it's great. And we actually have worked together a long time too. We met in the food service industry, and I was back at the house. She was front of the house, and we kind of stuck. And ever since then, she helps me with my extracurricular endeavors and all of our catering and whatnot. And then came back around, and a few years after I started at BirchStreet, she came on board, and she's making a name for herself too.
She is. She's wonderful to work with. So at the Madsen house, you could actually say there's always room for plenty of chefs in the kitchen, arguably. But anyway, can I ask you a little bit?
If you're ever in the area, you're definitely welcome over. You can make some of those fantastic landscapes. Definitely seen some impressive stuff come out of your kitchen too.
Oh, yes, we're working on it. Chef sent me something just recently. It was with pumpkin. It was incredible. Do you remember that particular image you sent me? It was spectacular. My wife and my daughter are trying that. So I'll be sure and let you know how it goes for it. But for our listeners, Chef, who might not be familiar or as familiar with recipe management, could you give them just a high-level overview of what the product does and how valuable and powerful it is?
Sure, absolutely. So the food operations, the food and beverage operations are on one hand, they can be one of the biggest attractors to get people into your establishment. On the other hand, it's one of the hardest expenses to track too. Everything is so variable, fluctuates so wildly that being able to have the visibility into what your products cost, but where also the waste lies, where you can tighten the ship a little bit. That really gets to be the where BirchStreet steps in and provides the greatest benefit is when you're building a menu, you do have to be concerned with pricing, and pricing changes all the time, and your suppliers, sometimes they know what you're paying attention to and what you're not paying attention to, and they raise what you're not paying attention to. With BirchStreet, you don't have to worry about that because we do track all of your pricing. And then whenever something does get too expensive, within 24 hours. So you never go a month by without, before you realize that your ketchup is costing too much or your paper cups are costing too much. Mm-hmm. Now, on top of that, it's also the aspect of consistency. When you do have large operations, people expect to have consistent product from you wherever they go. If they show up to your establishment in Florida and they have your corporate burger out there, they're going to want the same thing when they go to Los Angeles and go to your same establishment out there. So with another benefit of BirchStreet Recipe is the publishing and sharing of recipes across all locations, making sure that everything is consistent while keeping your cost localized. So you'll always get the same product, but each location knows exactly how much their supplier cost is for their products, and also to make sure that it makes sense where they're at. And that, of course, involves menu engineering and cost alerts. Now, something that's growing in importance, it's always been important, but it's always getting more urgent, is the accurate reporting of allergens and intolerances and dietary. And I remember personally, when gluten became a huge issue, it was overnight. Half the population had a gluten intolerance all of a sudden. It can be somewhat difficult to mentally take stock of what allergens, what intolerances are in everything. And you may have a sub recipe that contains something and you don't realize it doesn't come to the top of your mind. But with BirchStreet, we do have a very in-depth nutritional database that is very accurate, not only for your allergens and intolerances, but also for your yields for fabrication and when yields apply, when yields don't apply. You can't just blanket assign these things to everything. So that does take a lot of the guesswork out of it too. What I always say is, particularly when it comes to allergens, that You're always going to have some curveball random questions from a customer, and you don't want to have the servers going back and bothering the chef all the time to find out what contains gluten or whatever the allergy of the day is. With the BirchStreet system, we give all of that information at your fingertips, really. And really, that's if I had to sum up everything, all of the benefits very simply for BirchStreet recipe, it's visibility. It's visibility into your cost, your nutrition, your usage, your waste. It's visibility into everything.
Now, it's interesting. It's interesting you say that, Chef. I was on a call with you recently, and video cameras were on, and you might recall that this was a chef in another part of the United States, and he was sitting in the kitchen listening to you discuss the recipe management module, and you moved into everything you just said. You brought up, and you touched upon the recipe pad, which is I fell in love with recipe pad. It's the first time I was trained in it and saw it here at BirchStreet. And just the simple ability, as you started to describe, unlimited videos, consistency of imagery. And I watched his head just continually nod. I remember telling Paul Rantiller, our chief commercial officer, just you could see his reactions were very warm to how you were discussing recipe pad for the customization for a property.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up recipe pad, because that is one of the most appetizing features of the recipe module. Being a chef, we definitely appreciate presentation. You eat with your eyes first, and with the recipe pad, it is a very presentable repository for all of your recipes with loads of image capability. Videos are great, and for me personally, having images and videos for recipes is great, but making them better training utilities is really where it's at. By being able to have step-by-step photography for, creating a terrine or a turducken or a complicated dish, or even simple dishes like pizzas or sandwiches, by doing that, you take away the need to sit over the shoulder of new hires, or God forbid, if you ever have to promote the dishwasher for the day to the sandwich station because one of your cooks is unavailable. You have that information that you can print out. You got the extremely easy to follow guidelines, so that the dishes, you can still get that consistency again without having to watch them make the first 10 or 15 sandwiches or whatever they're doing. Now with the videos, what I really like is things like kitchen maintenance, breaking down, cleaning a deep fryer, a slicer, a soft serve machine, all things that if, it takes a little bit of learning how to get it right. But again, if you have that just built into an easy to access recipe pad, you free up the management from having to train more often than they need to. And, for employees who may be a little bit shy about asking questions that they think they should know already, it's a great resource.
It is, and you've seen over the years, 11 coming up on your 12th year here at BirchStreet, you've just seen the solution deployed to so many unique environments, whether it's a theme park or a sporting venue or as a casino you mentioned earlier, or stepping into the school system for lunches. Can I ask you, especially with what we've seen the last couple of years, with the global pandemic, the effective shutdown of the hospitality industry, opening back up, the labor shortage, supply chain constriction, are you seeing a recipe becoming more attractive because of that environment and cost of goods increasing also, but because of just simply the flexibility of the tool, as you just mentioned, for visibility and control?
Absolutely. So cost is for most food service operations, you're already on razor thin margins as is. So, making sure that you can adjust your cost based upon a wildly fluctuating market, within 24 hours of any significant changes is huge. For me personally, I wouldn't consider myself a nutrition junkie, but nutrition is extremely important, and diets are changing all the time. With BirchStreet, it's never, we're focused on gluten or we're focused on a specific diet. It's because we so extensively report nutrition, we so extensively report allergens and tolerances, and that we're actually well suited anytime that the next diet comes up, the next taboo, item that we have to remove, or the next hot item that just hits the market. we've already got that information. We've already got the visibility.
I recall that I was on a demo with you, and I think there were chefs from Wales and other parts of the United Kingdom and even Paris. And we were talking about Natasha's Law for our international listeners. And Chef was discussing that and just how wide we span with the USDA listings and then the Natasha's Law, which seems to come up pretty frequently. For those who don't know about that, Chef, did you want to comment to Natasha's Law?
Yeah, absolutely. Natasha's Law was definitely a sad situation that spurred it, where a young girl, Natasha, had allergic reactions and died from a sesame allergen that is not a very common. Most people don't really think about sesame as being an allergy. Now, BirchStreet was on top of that because we are a global company. We do understand that, especially in the hospitality industry, you are going to have guests from all over the globe. So we're very attentive to allergen reporting standards all over the place. And so in America, we adopted the sesame seeds or allergen reporting and sulfite reporting, I want to say 8 years before Natasha's Law even became a thought. Because we know that you may have customers from Canada, or you may have customers from another region where that information is available. And again, with our extensive database, where we took the USDA database. Now we're not restricted by the USDA database. We took the USDA database, we added to it, we leveraged our customer base again across the globe, and as people are buying products and using new products and putting new products in that have, with nutrition allergens, and as long as we can verify that they are accurate and that they're not proprietary, we in turn give that to everybody else. Again, it's really easy for a human to miss some of the not so obvious allergens or red flags, but the system will catch that automatically. I know one for me that I would be likely to miss is Worcester sauce. Not everybody knows it contains anchovies, but it is a widely used product. And before you know it, you've got fish allergies that if you're not paying very close attention to, you could really get into trouble. And it is a life or death situation. So
that's interesting about Worcester sauce. I'm not allergic to that, Chef. I put that on my eggs. I used to put it on French toast, actually. This is nuts for everyone. When I was at college as a chef. And pretty much when you're a young college student, you'll put it on anything, right? And crazy stuff. But I was in a call with you recently, and you brought this up, and people were surprised at the example you just gave.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're a fan of Worcester and also with your background in Australia, any chance you get to try oysters Kilpatrick, it's amazing. Heavy on Worcester.
Thank you for the heads up. For our listeners, do you have any favorite recipes? It's an impossible question to ask a chef of 25 years, but are there any experiences that come to mind that might be beneficial? I remember one you shared was you were doing some Hollywood do, and you ran out of some sort of presentation, and was it ceviche or something you ended up putting in champagne glasses, and it was a huge hit.
Oh, yeah. Necessity definitely can give birth to some great features. Now, this was a long time ago. I know nowadays people use the martini glasses and champagne glasses for everything. But I like to joke that if you have a good enough presentation, it doesn't matter what's in the glass or what's on the plate. People will go just for the packaging a lot of times. I've also developed some really great recipes just out of necessity. Without going into too much detail, I've come up with great tuna recipes because I didn't have the appropriate items in my cabinet. I was making. I came up with a great watermelon salsa with chocolate mint. That was something I literally pulled out of my yard because, again, I didn't have enough stuff on hand. And I've used that widely in, my catering and restaurants, et cetera. Now, when it does come to what's my favorite, I consider myself a gourmet and a gourmand. There is almost nothing that I won't gladly wolf down.
I appreciate nothing's off limits for Chef.
I celebrate being an omnivore. Certainly.
Oh, and I'm sure our listeners do too. I can't stop thinking about food. The more you're talking about this, Speaking of growth, you just mentioned giving birth, and it's true. You have a baby on the way. Haley's due in the next few weeks, right?
That's right. That's right. We're very excited about that. We have our first child, a boy, Luke Christian Madsen, is due this December, and he just had a cousin born this morning. So it's
congratulations.
The family tree is forking, and we're very excited.
Well, I appreciate the pun, the usage of the fork from farm to fork. And I'm sure that you and Haley and the family will have Luke dressed in a onesie, a chef's onesie. You would expect. That will certainly be the present I send to you both. That's for sure. Well, that's all the time we have today, Chef. I'd love to keep talking to you. It's always an educational experience for our listeners when you listen to Chef Lawrence talk. And again, if you have not had a demonstration of the software and listen to Chef discuss the length and breadth of the module, you really need to take advantage of that or have a refresher. Reach out to one of our sales executives or click on the demonstration tab on our website. But thank you so much, Chef, for being with us today and taking the time.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Gareth. I definitely appreciate you having me on, and it's always a pleasure.
We'll definitely have you back on as well. And that's goodbye from Chef and goodbye from me. And we'll see you next time right here on Buy It on Birch Street.